Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to just give a quick overview of the technical work that Fred talked about to develop the proposal, and then some of the specific revisions to the initial proposal that will be taken out to the public hearing. Given the potential impact of these reductions on the riders, staff approached this work in a very structured, deliberate, and serious way. TRIMET is unique among transit systems in that we have very high quality and a great extent of data on ridership collected through our bus dispatch system and the automatic passenger counters that are on our buses and trains. So we're able to analyze ridership at a very detailed level by route, by trip, by time of day, stop by stop. And it's by looking at this information that we're able to put together the initial proposal that was subject to the public hearings in late February. Looking at this data allows us to assess the ridership productivity at a very micro level. The basic measure of ridership productivity, as Fred mentioned, is how many people ride a given vehicle, bus or train in an hour of time. And in that way we can compare different services against each other. While ridership productivity is the fundamental measure, a common denominator across all services, as Fred mentioned, it's not the only factor that we take into our calculus. The availability of other service, as Fred mentioned, is an important consideration. The use of the service for work trips or school trips, particularly during these economic times, the importance of retaining that service. And then finally, we did look at the operational feasibility and the efficiency of the services to improve reliability and just basic operation on the street. The initial proposal was subject to the open houses. Fred mentioned over 1,500 comments. In addition, we worked with our bus and rail operators to get information to them and ideas from them about the potential changes to try to help facilitate their communication with customers on board about the potential reductions. Through the public participation process, we were really able to get a better understanding of the impacts of the initial proposal on our riders and the communities. We're able to find out who was riding, a little bit more about that, what trip purposes, how useful that alternative service nearby could be to them, and how well the service would fit with their plans and needs for their communities. Of the over 1,500 comments, I believe we received about 1,200 via letters, emails, phone calls, and 300 at the open houses. In addition, customer service staff did go out and ride on the lines that were proposed to be discontinued and engage the riders on those lines in a discussion about what was proposed and what options might be available to them. At the open houses, which I think some of you all attended, we had constructive discussions about ways to modify the service to retain some of the service, but also then help us achieve some cost savings. And that is really the basis, I think, for a lot of the modifications to the proposal that we have today. Some 45 lines were initially proposed for modification. On about 13 of those lines accounted for over 3/4 of all the comments we received. So those are the ones that we focused on for modification. One of the big ones, I'll just quickly highlight some of those, was the line 33 Fremont, which in the initial proposal that serves Northeast Portland from the Gateway area across Northeast Portland into downtown via Emmanuel Hospital. I received lots of comments about the importance of that service to the Northeast community, particularly for work and school trips and access to the hospital. The revised proposal that would be subject to the public hearing would be to retain that service on the east side of Portland, running basically between Emmanuel Hospital and Gateway. So to provide that essential service that we heard about in the open houses, again, a good example of maintaining some of that basic service, but also then achieving some cost savings on our side.
Weekday?
Yes. This would be on weekdays only. We would still continue to propose discontinuing weekend service, which has relatively low ridership, and evening service on weekdays. And so this would give us a core service that we think would be productive going forward and meet the needs of the community. Yes?
You're talking about an employer such as Emmanuel Hospital, which provides 24-hour service, and also recognizing that we probably know the swing shift of the grade probably doesn't have as many. How do you deal with that when you're just going from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m.?
question. Emmanuel itself is served by other bus lines, including one of our frequent service lines, Line 4 Pheasant, which actually operates until 1:30 in the morning and fairly frequently into the evening. In Northeast Portland, several of the lines run north-south. The Fremont runs east-west. And what we heard from customers was, although there is alternative service available in a north-south manner, the inconvenience of that compared to going straight across east-west was to such a degree that it really wasn't, in their eyes, a true alternative. So this would preserve, again, that core service to the hospital for the main work shifts and for appointments during the day. But yeah, be assured there would be continued service to Emmanuel late into the evening, 7 days a week on other lines.
President and Board Member Richardson, I might also mention that after you and I discussed this, I did talk to Serena Stoudemire at Emmanuel, and she was, I think, welcomed this change as a very important step. I think everybody would, of course, like more, but she welcomed this on behalf of Emmanuel as a very important step. The same response was from Red Cross, who also expressed concern in this area.
Quickly, a couple of the other lines proposed for modification. Two lines that serve the West Hills of Portland, the line 63 Washington Park and 18 Hillside. Again, received many comments on those lines about basic access for work and school trips. The revised proposal would retain that service but not operate it all the way into downtown Portland, but take advantage of the transfer connection to the MAX lines at PGE Park and Kings Hill stations. So again, an example of maintaining some service, but also then being able to achieve some operating cost savings. Another line...
Could you just mention the work yet to be done on 63, 73?
Yeah, on line 63 and 73, we're going to do some further investigation on board on the weekends and working with the institutions in Washington Park to determine a little bit more detail what their specific needs are relative to time of year, weekends, and so forth. Because as with the Fremont, we're still proposing to discontinue weekend service on the Washington Park line. During the summer, we operate the Washington Park Shuttle, which serves from the zoo station to the institutions over to the Rose Test Gardens. But we wanted to get a little bit more information from them about their needs and potentially modify the proposal after the hearings on that. And I'll just mention there are a couple of other lines that we'll also do more detailed look at, riding on board and discussing with folks. Those are still in the proposal for reduction as part of the hearings, but they rose to the level that we wanted to take a little bit closer look and engage the riders a little bit more before making a final decision to present to you as a recommendation at the end of April. Other lines that have been noted, line 156 Mather Road in the Sunnyside area of Clackamas County had been proposed to be discontinued entirely. It presently runs weekday, Saturday, and Sunday. Based on the ridership level and the comments we got for access again to a hospital, Kaiser Sunnyside, the high school, and apartments in the area, we're proposing to retain that service weekdays but a shorter span, basically 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Rather than, I believe, 5 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. But again, that would be a reduction of or elimination of weekend service on that line. Line 37, also on the other side of the river in Clackamas County, in Lake Oswego area, had been proposed to be discontinued. It's a weekday-only line. The revised plan would be to retain that line but operate it less frequently, so that we could maintain some basic coverage to the Lake Grove area.